Disclaimer. To the Pharisees and Karens out there.
How dare you?
All guests on this show do not reflect the opinions of the host. The purpose of this show is to have interesting conversations, stretch our minds, and grow.
Not what we want.
If you are looking for an echo chamber, viewer and listener discretion
is advised.
You talk about extreme.
What is happening and what is up? Hold out your glass, because we're about to fill it up.
All things continually lead back to serpents, dragons, fairies, Nephilim, and fallen angels.
In the distance looms a mystical mountain.
As Mike Heiser used to say, if it's in the Bible and it's weird, it's probably important.
At its peak, a great fire burns, concealing the Prometheus lens.
This development of this knowledge that's being talked about within the mystery schools.
An ancient artifact said to reveal the hidden truth within a deliberately darkened world.
There's a hidden history that's been deliberately obfuscated from the peoples of the world.
Join us as we travel and explore the vast unknown. It's a hero's journey with dragons to slay, damsels to save, and innumerable treasures to hoard. Torches high.
The Smithsonian, they caught wind of a giant skeleton, would send their agents out to get it.
But it takes courage to move forward, to move out of the shadows, out of the unreality that we think of as reality.
We are all on the hero's journey.
Mankind has been in contact with and influenced by extraterrestrials.
Leave the sentient mound of bull feathers out of it.
You know, look at it from a different perspective.
Hey, what is happening? What is up? Hold out your glass. You know what time it is, because we're about to fill it up. Welcome to the Prometheus Lens podcast, the place where the conversations are always enlightening. I'm your host, Justin, and here we like to use the allegory of the Prometheus Lens to take a second look at everything. Hey, if you guys are within the sound of my voice here in this recording, this means that you are an all-access pass holder, and you missed out on the man, the myth, the legend, the walking, talking, living, breathing, walking encyclopedia. So you're having to just settle for just listening to the recording. I give you my condolences in advance, because I already know. I know the man well. This is going to be a great conversation. But Derek, just thank you for taking the time on this spooky Friday the 13th to come and hang out with us tonight.
Happy to do it, brother. Always enjoy our conversations.
Oh, definitely. Well, this is the opportunity for you guys to pick Derek's brain. Me and Derek conversate quite often, so I don't want to take up the time. So if you guys have any questions or anything that you want to pitch to Derek, I'm going to go ahead and turn the floor over.
To the
and this
to the
is
group,
always what it's like at first. We got some shopping.
Okay, gotcha.
All right, well, I'll just lead off with one then. I'll cut the ice.
Prime the pump.
Yeah, I'll prime it up here. I was watching some of the old films. I actually bought that definitive collection of Joe Horn at that conference that we were at, Go There For, and was going through some of those old films. And it's really cool to go back and see the genesis of Skywatch. And you guys had mentioned a study in New Guinea about someone had studied how they were there was this cannibalistic tribe, and they done tests on their DNA and found that it was changing their DNA on a germline level. And you just kind of just briefly just threw that out there, like it wasn't a big thing, because you guys that knew all about it, I was just like, what? I want to know more about this. Could you elaborate a little bit on that?
Well, I wish I could. This is one of the things Sharon and I have found over the years is that when we go back and listen to our old stuff, because our podcasts began back in 2005, So we've got content that goes back a long, long time, and we listen back to some of those things, and we're sometimes surprised at what we've forgotten that we knew. This was probably something that Sharon tossed out there because this is really in her degrees in molecular biology with an emphasis on excuse me, emphasis on genetics. So it's the kind of thing that she would probably have paid more attention to than me, because I'll be honest, it's not ringing a bell with me at all.
Because when I heard
that's also something that's, sorry, Justin.
Oh, you go ahead.
That's something that's popping back up now in our society. Like, I just sent Justin a text yesterday. I was like, what in the cannibalism occult rituals is this? And there's people now eating female reproductive organs. I mean, fallopian tubes and placenta is so... That's something that's happening now in the United States too. So I'm curious also about that.
Yeah, well, I got a talk coming up with Sharon. I'll be sure to bring that up with her and see what
You'll
she has
have to
to
do
say.
that. Thanks.
Yeah, because it sparked my curiosity, especially where I had that conversation with Enoch Puetris, and he was talking about the basically the spirit cooking of today, that the giants, it was his theory, that was through ritual and through cannibalistic means, were changing their DNA and taking in mass amounts of human growth hormone, and he thinks that could be a reason for the return of the Nephilim.
Yeah, she's also talked about the epigenetic changes that might take place through rituals, and we've talked about that regarding, say, Goliath and the post-flood giants. It is our belief that God wouldn't have made a mistake and accidentally allowed this bloodline to continue on the ark. And while it's possible that there was a second incursion of angels mating with human women, it's also possible that the spirit realm looked at what happened to that generation of watchers who did, and the punishment they received, and decided they didn't want to go through that anymore. So if that's the case, how do you get these Philistine giants? Especially when you look at 2 Samuel 21 and the word translated as descendant of the giant, where they talk about the giants like Ishvi ben Ov and Goliath being descendants of the Rapha, descendants of the giant, Rapha being the singular form of Rephaim. That word descendant does not mean descendant. It doesn't mean genetic blood relative of the giants. The word in Hebrew, Yelid, actually means one who's a member of a group into which one's been consecrated or initiated. So it's like a cult member. On the other hand, you still got the fact that Goliath is 6 cubits in a span in the Old Testament, 4 cubits in a span in the Septuagint. Dr. Clyde Billington explained the difference between the two as being the difference between how a Hebrew of David's era, 11th century BC, 10th century BC, where a cubit may, the distance between your elbow and your fingertip, for an average Israelite who's 5'4", that may have only have been a 15-inch cubit, but the royal cubit of the Egyptians, at the time the Septuagint was translated, it was like 22.5 inches or something like that. So in order to keep the height...
That was the same with Noah's boat, too. Like the ark, that
Sure.
was the same thing. It was measured by the royal cubit, not the cubit.
The cubit, which, of which your mileage may vary.
Correct.
Which would make mass producing things difficult, because you're talking about a 6-footer's cubit or a guy who's David's size, 5'4". But the point is that there's no difference between the 6 cubits in a span and the 4 cubits in a span, according to Dr. Billington. It both works out to about 8 feet tall, which is still really, really big. How did he get that big? Epigenetics is one possible answer. So without having to go back on, there was a second incursion of watcher class angels who commingled with human women. So, but yeah, when you start talking about genetics, Sharon's the one you got to talk to.
So Derek, you'll have to forgive me. I'm a newbie in this space. Okay. Like I've been here less than a year. So everything is new to me. And so I also don't know your specific area of expertise. So what what is your, I know, I'm sorry. That might sound
No,
awful,
that's all
but
right. That's all right.
I'm just starting this journey, so please be patient. What is your
I'm not
area
sure.
of expertise? Because I have lots
I'm
of
not sure.
questions.
I'm not sure I have one either. It's there are areas that I've studied, and I'm sort of a what you would call a generalist, I suppose, where I look at these various silos of information where you've got scholars who may be Assyriologists, experts in what the Assyrians did, but they don't really pay much attention to what was happening in the Minoan culture, or a Hittitologist who studied the Hittite culture of ancient Anatolia, but they're not really versed on what happened in Sumer. And so, I'm trying to collate a bunch of stuff and put it all together. If I had to say one thing, I guess it would be the story of the giants of the Bible and how and why they're relevant to us as Christians, and why they're important to Christian theology and Jewish theology, really. We've done a number of books that have dug deep into that, like Veneration, which was really focused on the origin of demons and the cult of the Nephilim in the ancient world. Giants, Gods, and Dragons, which was inspired by a news story a few years ago about players of the game Dungeons and Dragons who got upset because the orcs are always depicted as evil. Now, if you know anything about the works of J.R.R. Tolkien, Lord of the Rings, The Hobbit, the orcs were evil. They were irredeemably evil.
They are evil. Yes,
right,
they are.
But if you're a player of Dungeons and Dragons and you don't have the backstory, you just have the inherited fantasy world created by J.R.R. Tolkien of elves and orcs and trolls and dwarves and so on. You might look at this and say, well, okay, it looks to me as though the only reason the orcs are evil is because they have colored skin, and the elves are always depicted as blonde and fair-skinned, and so that's racist. And so the producer of the game said, all right, we'll change the game in future editions where you can play the orcs as good if you want. Now, I don't know if you're following what's going on with Lord of the Rings, Rings of Power series on Amazon.
Rings of Power, yeah.
Yeah. Well, they're actually depicting the orcs as, we don't want to go to war. I'm going to stay home with my orc wife and my orc children. Like, what?
Yes, the main orc. Yes, they are.
Yeah,
the
yeah.
main orc.
So,
the main orc is like, but my wife and my baby.
Right. So we can laugh at the players of Dungeons and Dragons for protesting the treatment of fictional characters, the orcs. They're treating these fictional characters like they're real, and they're getting upset and they're protesting, and we can laugh at them. But then it dawned on us, like, wait a minute, we Christians, according to survey after survey, treat the majority of the characters in the Bible, which we say we believe is the Word of God, as though they're fiction. 60% of American Christians don't think Satan is real, much less demons. So, who are we to laugh at the players of Dungeons and Dragons treating fictional characters like they're real?
If you listen to the Silmarillion or you read the Silmarillion, you
Right.
know where orcs actually come from, right? So,
Right.
like,
Twisted elves, right?
So
They're essentially
Yeah,
fallen angels, twisted fallen
they
angels.
are. Yeah.
So again, we can laugh at the characters the people who are treating fictional characters like they're real, but we're taking characters in the Word of God, who He calls gods and giants and dragons, and treating them as though they're fiction. So that's
Okay,
kind of where
do
Sharon
you
and I
think
have
that-
gone. We've taken the teachings of Dr. Michael Heiser and his Divine Counsel worldview and investigating how that affects our understanding of the Bible.
I just finished The Unseen Realm. Yep, that's an aggressive book, huh? Yeah. But
Yeah,
Mike,
we
do
miss
you
Mike.
actually believe? I came into this space after he was already passed, so rest in peace, God rest his soul. So all I have are the people who are basically carrying the torch and taking it for him. But dragons, do you actually think that dragons, do you believe that dragons can, not that they did exist, but that they will exist again?
I think they do exist. It's just that, like most of the angelic realm, we don't perceive them with our limited human perceptions. We were created to occupy this natural space, which is why Jude refers to the The angels who sinned, a reference to the sons of God in Genesis chapter 6, is those who kept not their proper estate, who left their proper dwelling, and so on. They were created for the spirit realm. They intruded on our realm and meddled with humanity, and that's why they left their first estate or their proper dwelling. When you look at descriptions of, for example, the fiery serpents that afflicted the Israelites in Numbers chapter 21, if I remember correctly, the words in Hebrew for the fiery serpents is seraph, which is the singular form of seraphim, described by Isaiah in Isaiah chapter 6, and nakash, which is the word translated serpent back in Genesis chapter 3. So you've got nakash, seraph, and in one case, nakashim, seraphim, plural, which suggests that nakashim, serpents or serpentine beings, because we don't think that the snake in the garden was actually a talking snake. It was a being that Eve and Adam were used to seeing there. They were part of the divine council, used interchangeably with seraphim, who were the
Doesn't
throne
it mean
guardians
shining
Isaiah saw in
ones?
Isaiah. Well, the word nakash has that range of meanings, according to Mike Heiser. And Mike, drawing on accepted Hebrew translations, it can refer to one that is glowing almost like polished brass. So you may have in the Nakash, you may have a being that has serpentine appearance, but is also radiant and glowing, which would fit with seraphim, because seraph in Hebrew is a verb that means burning. So the seraphim literally, if the word derives from Hebrew, means the burning ones. So nakashim, seraphim, you've got these fiery serpents, and then in Isaiah, you've got the flying serpents that are afflicting the Hebrews. So, again, you got flying fiery serpents, the seraphim, 6 wings. And what would you call a flying fiery serpent other than a dragon?
Satan described it as a
think of
DMT
it.
realm also.
Yeah.
You have these guys, that book, it was called, what was the name of it? The Cosmic Serpent. Them guys talk about all their DMT experiences going into this astral realm. Every single one of them, without failure,
Every single
have
one,
an experience with a snake, and it's and they all describe it as shining and shimmering, and the scales are glowing.
Yeah, in fact, Sharon and I reference that in our actually the book is kind of out already. The hard copy is not going to be out till October 15th, but apparently the Amazon Audible edition is already out there, called The Gates of Hell. And we get into the DMT experiments of Dr. Rick Strassman and what do you call it? The spirit molecule. I interviewed him years ago about that. And it was when you've got multiple witnesses who are reporting seeing the same thing at the same time, given that mass hallucinations are not a thing, you basically have multiple people seeing into that spirit realm. And this really took Strassman by surprise. But those were entities that were reported by more than a few observers. And one of them described
spirit molecule.
The spirit
What is
molecule,
this?
yeah. DMT, it's the molecule, it's the active ingredient in ayahuasca. And it's found in the brain. There was a theory that it was produced by
isn't that what they're saying is now surrounding the quote unquote burning bush, like the area where the burning bush was? They're saying that is now, there's a plant out there that now grows that naturally produces that. And they're saying that the reason that Moses had that experience is because he was like high.
Well, Strassman argued that in his follow-up book to The Spirit Molecule, and I think he called The Spirit of Prophecy or something to that effect, but he was arguing that the Hebrew prophets had been dosed with DMT somehow, or they were dosing themselves with DMT or something similar, which is why they were able to see into the spirit realm, which of course ignores the biblical narrative that they were always taken into that realm by an angelic guide. So I think Dr. Strassman didn't quite interpret the scriptures. That his story is that he was raised in an Orthodox Jewish home, but he went atheist, and then he went Buddhist. And so he was a believer
Sorry,
in the
again,
concept of.
I don't know him. I don't know him. So is he the one claiming that this area where the burning bush was supposed to be is now covered?
Well, I don't know whether he is or not, but he's the one making the claim that the Hebrew prophets, or at least theorizing that the Hebrew prophets used DMT or a substance similar to it to see into the spirit realm. And he wanted to do more experiments with DMT to see if we could find out how to harness the ability to prophesy using DMT. I don't know who's made that claim. Ayahuasca is a South American drug that's been used for centuries, I mean, more than 1,000 years by shamans in South America. But the burning bush,
for sure.
Burning bush would have been somewhere in southeast of the Dead Sea. I mean, I know there are those who think that Moses encountered it in Arabia. We think it was at Petra, but that's for another book. But I don't think there are any. I don't think there are any substances or naturally occurring substances in that region that have that effect, have the effect of DMT or ayahuasca. But
good to know. Good to know.
Hi everybody, I'm Chris Vick. I'm the founder of Squatch Survival Gear, and today I'm here to talk to you about some of our most popular packs. In 2017, I founded Squatch Survival Gear because I was tired of seeing low quality, mass-produced packs flooding the American market. I decided I'd make a pack that was 100% designed and manufactured in the United States, and today I'm here to talk to you about some of our most popular packs. This is the Night Howler. It was designed for EDC and travelers. As you can see, it's small. It's roughly 10 by 12 inches. It's designed for everyday carry. The pass-through pad allows you to put it on your luggage when you travel. This is the Rougarou. It's very civilianized, lots of attachment points. This is a 25-liter pack. We designed it for a little lighter load. If you need more than the Night Howler, you should try this. This is the Mothman, very similar to the Rougarou, roughly the same size, but it's designed for carrying a much heavier load. The removable waist belt will help you carry that extra load. You've also got your retaining strap if you're going to take that on a travel trip. This is the Kakamora. This would be your first 72-hour pack, as we used to say in the Army. It comes with an internal frame, totally adjustable straps, heavily padded. You can carry heavy loads, carry lots of gear. This is the Rock Ape. It's a 45-liter pack. Same internal frame, same great padded straps that you like, with a few extra features. If you're wondering what's with all the crazy names, well, that's because finding 100% American made is as hard as finding Bigfoot in the woods. When you're ready to carry our packs, contact us at squatchsurvivalgear.com or any of our social medias.
Hey guys, if you enjoyed that preview and want to watch or listen to the rest of that episode, head on over to PrometheusLensPodcast.com and sign up for the All Access Pass. For $10 a month, you can help sponsor the show and gain access to a library of shows just like this one that's exclusive to those who help sponsor the show. You also get 48-hour early access to all future episodes, access to a private community, and monthly members chats and Q&As with authors and speakers that's been on the show. We also offer a $5 a month package that gets you everything that the All Access Pass gives except for the exclusive episodes. If you enjoy the content, help us keep the lights on. This is your way of sponsoring the show and be like so many others that have come and joined me on the hero's journey.